This place feels like a level from a Valve game.
Kind of.
A few videos back, I made a video referring to Gmod as the best Urbex game on Steam, and while that's practically true in the sense of it having that pure volume of user created great exploration maps, including the maps from the game I'm going to talk about today, it's also fair to say in retrospect that Gmod is not exclusively an Urbex game. You can kind of just choose to play it that way and it becomes a de facto Urbex game from you making your own fun. And in that sense, it just works. But in that video, I didn't give the proper credence to the one game that basically centers on exploring crumbling abandoned buildings. That changes today. Infra, truth be told, is probably the best Urbex game on Steam in terms of just a game that makes that its focus. In fact, it's one of the only games on Steam that does this in the way that it does. There are other games that serve as notable exploration experiences, at least. Some honorable mentions on that note can include the massive structures of Babdi or the breathtaking views of Dear Esther, which, by the way, I played recently and only now realized just how much that game had inspired the GM Mobius map I played a few videos back. But it's still rare to see games that ground themselves in just walking around in old power plants, underneath crumbling bridges, and through decrepit steel factories. Well, let's call this video a part 2 to my previous Urbex game video. Gmod is the best overall Urbex experience on Steam since you can make that what you want it to be with workshop add-ons, but probably as far as a game that is specifically a dedicated Urbex game that makes that kind of exploration core to its experience, Infra takes the title under those circumstances. I want to go through and find some of my favorite spots in the game to explore. Most of them will be from the various buildings found in-game, though it's also hard to ignore some of the beautiful views we get in some of the outdoor sections too. So why don't we take what will surely be a safe, relaxing walk through Stahlberg 10 years after Infra's release. Just before we do, though, a quick little alert for you that I not only have a Patreon, now reduced in price so that the highest tier for early video access is just $5 a month, but I also have a Discord. I want to build more of a community, frankly, to make more friends and talk to more people about source stuff aside from goofing around, so if you want to hang out, check for a link in the description. With that out of the way, let's get into it. I've got two main rules of thumb when it comes to judging how good of an Urbex location a spot in a game is going to be. One, the longer a place has evidently been abandoned, the better, and two, the more information we can glean from stuff lying around the place, the better. What that means is, take any random video of the proper people exploring an abandoned venue. You might find random posters or advertisements in the public-facing areas, or you might see them go into a back office and find documents for employees to reference that might give insight into how the place operated, or what challenges it might have been dealing with. That's the key word: insight. What we want in the context of a game is environmental storytelling. All the best spots in Infra, in my opinion, are going to be the ones that have a lot of environmental storytelling and have clearly been lying dormant for a bit. You can see as soon as you enter the first building on the dam's property that no one has been in here for some time. Spiderwebs are visible and no one has been logging any kind of presence, at least not in this first building, in over a decade, assuming the game takes place in 2016, the year it came out. Walking around an abandoned dam would be interesting on its own, but the story of Infra centering around the mystery of why all the infrastructure in Stahlberg is crumbling makes these places more interesting. Exploring the abandoned hallways of the dam to find the old dusty office and the control room with the tape left by Alex Hartman warning us about Jeff Walter would for most explorers suffice as an information goldmine. That kind of thing has to be what urban explorers live for, since it's not only enlightening, but also would have been a form of truth lost to time had we not found it. The hidden graffiti room before you leave the main building is also a pretty cool Easter egg, in addition to it being a cool spot to stumble on where other people previously had been hanging out. While the Breaking Bad reference painting steals the show, I also really like the one of the angel on the opposite wall. Lastly, down the way, there's one more abandoned outpost kind of building that has another one of these hangout spots, some more graffiti in the form of this really well done bird, and a small control room up top that truly has seen better days. The cool thing about this room is you get a map that shows just where exactly in the area you are. By this point in the game, you would have recently exited a cave that lets out into the area where this building sits. The Bergman tunnels are just after the dam section near the start of the game, and while the dam itself has some noticeable problems, it's the tunnels where you really start to see just how bad things are getting in this long abandoned system. A lot of the metal surfaces are rusted to go along with plenty of dated or even broken equipment, and in the side room with the door controls, you see this map of the complex with a myriad of different red circles and arrows depicting every hazard left unfixed in the place. Doors are blocked, tunnels are ready to collapse, elevators are broken, and the floodgates, probably the most important mechanisms in this area, are messed up too. This place is more broken than functional, and ignoring the rest of the problems you find in the rest of the game could by itself lead to a catastrophe causing major loss of life. Meanwhile, there's a note from Hartman left in one of the offices detailing his thoughts about Xander Berg's disappearance, and the contacts Hartman believes are linked closely enough to Jeff Walter to know where he's hiding. So as we progress, we get another piece of info to go further down that rabbit hole. I do really enjoy the vibe of this place. Being so far underground with the occasional water dripping gives me a sense of cozy isolation, and the aged aesthetic from the dirty concrete and dusty wooden doors to the spider webs and the tiled break room really instilled the idea that you're stumbling upon a dark underbelly of Stahlberg that's been left dormant for many years. The cool part about the steel factory is how overgrown everything is around it, so it becomes a place where nature is slowly but surely reclaiming the factory over time. There are plenty more spray-painted walls around the building, the most striking one being the big red tag greeting you as soon as you go through the front entrance. The heightened presence of graffiti tags in this building reminds me of a real-life place I checked out while visiting Rhode Island a couple times, Fort Wetherill and Jamestown. You can legally go here considering it's registered as a state park. Fort Wetherill used to be a coastal artillery fort and is next to this really scenic cove that lets out into the Narragansett Bay. Within it is an unending mural of different kinds of graffiti spanning the entirety of the fort. The graffiti here isn't nearly as dominant a presence, but there's still a ton, and without it we wouldn't immediately know that entering this next room upstairs would potentially kill us with toxic fumes or maybe even spores given the mushrooms scattered throughout, since we didn't bring a respirator or gas mask. Thankfully, there are some vents for fresh air, but if this place were real, it'd definitely be better not to leave your fate up to that. Deeper into the factory, we find a secret mushroom farm. We learn its owner is responsible for purposely making the rest of the factory harder to traverse in order to keep squatters out. Next to this weird little guy, we see a note. If you're reading this, you managed to get here despite my best efforts to block entry for you bums. If something happens to my shroom farm, you will regret. Obviously, given the modern technology lying around and the calendar saying 2016, the year the game takes place, this farm hasn't been left alone for long, but by the time we get here, there are no more squatters, and the people that lived in this makeshift shroom farm are gone too. All of this becomes more environmental storytelling of what had happened here between the time the factory shuttered from a Jeff Walter-led inside job and the present day. As a bonus treat at the end of this section, the view at the top of the tower with the main city of Stahlberg not too far off is pretty awesome. The skyboxes in Infra are second to none. I saved the best for last for this one because the bunker map is the biggest one in this set of areas today, and it naturally has the most secrets hidden beneath the surface. Prior to this section of the game, we went through the central loop as part of exploration of the metro system, where we saw a memorial for the victims of a 1986 train crash where all of its riders were presumed dead from a tunnel collapse. This sparked union protests, and for a bit we're left to believe the crash was another symptom in the long list of crumbling infrastructure problems we've seen in Stallberg. But there's more to this story, and once we reach the bunker, we get the truth about what happened to that train. The first thing we can conclude from this site is that clearly the train wasn't crushed under a collapsed tunnel. Instead, it ended up here in this bunker, so the story about the tunnel was a cover up for something else. We don't immediately know the full story of what really happened, but walking around a bit more helps us start to pick up the pieces. Having said that, I have to also say that while this is an Urbex spot video, this spot is also going to be, well, a spot with a very high barrier to entry. If you don't have some kind of protective gear for high amounts of radiation, I would say not to touch this place. While we can already see the train is surrounded by radioactive mushrooms, going under the door to the side brings us face to face with a high number of uranium rods and a sign detailing the process of uranium enrichment, confirming that this bunker is a secret nuclear facility. Next door is an even more disturbing sight with rows of dead bodies left to rot under sheets. The truth about the train catastrophe of '86 was that the train did in fact crash, but not from anything related to a tunnel. It instead was accidentally redirected to this bunker where it crashed in the main hall. Any survivors of the crash were executed as a result to keep any word about the bunker from getting out. This section of the game, I can imagine, would be a bit polarizing as a prospective Urbex spot due not only to its inherent danger, but also just how far out of the realm of likely possibility it would be. But at least on paper, I do think an abandoned nuclear facility would be cool to explore as long as it was at a safe level of radiation. This place in reality doesn't even come close to being safe, but I still felt it was worth including just due to how much about Jeff Walter and his dealings you can learn about in here. The hallways in different rooms of the rest of the bunker are also more of what I was actually looking for in terms of good areas to explore, more so than the room where the train crashed. In fact, these lonely dark corridors go really well with the night vision filter on the cinematic camera mod if you're playing the map in Gmod, which is why I chose to record this section in Gmod on stream to do a more stream of consciousness commentary for them. See, I got like the night vision filter for it that I think kind of makes things look a little spookier. It's like I'm recording in the dark. It's pretty sweet. I did this for the other like Gmod's the best Urbex game on Steam. It's been around for 20 years. I did it for that video and it looked really good for that on the what's it called? Like that one amusement park Funland map. I feel like if I could eat uranium without the side effect of cell decay and dying, I'd do it to glow green. You can get those like old, like Soviet era uranium plates or whatever, like the dishware that's like made with uranium. I'm sure like you might be able to eat off that once and not immediately die. Don't like take that advice from me, like don't actually do that, but I'm just saying, like hypothetically speaking, if you ate something like don't, if you didn't like no part of the plate actually went into your mouth and you just had something sitting on it for like a second, I don't know, who knows, man. Yeah, as long as it's not like cracked or anything. I wouldn't do it anyway, like I wouldn't take any risk on that, but you see how like compare this with when I don't have the camera on. Like this is what it looks like without the camera, which like you know, it looks pretty cool anyway in the dark, but like with the camera on, holy shit, dude, it makes like a lot of difference for the vibe in my opinion. Yeah, it's like all dark in here, so I feel like the night vision camera makes a pretty good difference with illuminating things in a way that isn't so overpowering, because with the regular flashlight just by itself, sometimes it makes things a little too bright. This room's pretty interesting. This is like, I guess like a classroom or some kind of education center that they would have down here. Bunch of like wall posters, notes and stuff, books, tape and whatnot. They probably like were organizing a bunch of stuff, but they just kind of left it here in a hurry. You get like a chalkboard up front. Over here, it like tells you kind of what's actually what this place is. SNW project instructions. So the logo there for SMW, which in game I believe stood for Stalin nuclear weapons. I want to say it was made. The lore in the game was like it was made after World War II to like protect the future of Stahlberg, which is the area in the game. But I guess when they were doing stuff like that, it kind of came at the expense of all the other infrastructure in the area. They were like smuggling supplies from like a military base, I think, or some other area that had like access to nuclear supplies. Uranium girls used to paint watches with brushes and would lick the tip to keep it precise. They unintentionally consumed the glowing paint. Oh, God. Did they end up like getting like cancer or anything like that? I would have to think they didn't live very long. For a second, I thought it was going to be like some kind of musical group, or like, what if they became the Powerpuff Girls? Wow, Professor Utonium. That's kind of topical, unfortunately, in like the worst way. You got sugar flakes over here, coffee machine, microwave. So like people spent a good bit of time in this kind of control room. This logo for SMW kind of reminds me of the Monolith logo from Stalker, just a little bit. You got like that, I don't know, that like cosmic kind of atom thing in the middle, I guess. Yeah, they got like a locker room in here, like a barracks. So people who are like working in here were here for the long haul. They weren't going home to like their families each day, so to speak. This was like very hush hush. What do they call it in this? Borrelmaro? That's pretty good. Like how every game that has like a reference to those will always like just kind of switch the letters around a little bit. Like Tarkov has them in there too, but it's called like just Malboro or something instead of like Marlboro. And then like most games always have some variant of Lucky Strike. But I do really like the vibe of the dorms you would have here. You got like the old TV, the map on the wall, old books and everything. It's like this place has like been untouched, and it's just, it feels, I was talking about this in the office video, like how much I like the isolated spots where it feels like it's just you in the room and like nothing outside. It feels very isolated in here. If I just like alt-ed and was just like sitting here, I would get a really good like night's sleep in here, I think, if I was sleeping in a spot like this. It's preserved, like, you know, for a place that's been essentially lost to time for 30 plus years in game. I would say it's maintained pretty well. Most of everything down here is maintained pretty well. God, the lighting here is so good. Another hallway. Dude. Yeah, it's a good thing I brought my protective gear. I'm wearing a... Just don't look down. Good thing I have my hazmat suit that only covers, like, the upper half of my body. Otherwise, I'd be in trouble. There's, like, a mushroom virus in the game that, like, basically overtakes the person's entire body with these things. And it did it to that bear there. You see it, like, a lot in another part of the game. This must have been, like, after what had happened, they were just, like, pulling out all the files and just taking what they could get. Like, everything here is just ransacked. And all the important, or, like, less important stuff is left behind. SNW bunker. Unfortunately, I can't really read anything else that's on there. There's, like, a nice kind of dining room area. For someplace in a bunker, it actually has some nice kind of atmosphere to it. You even got like taps for the freaking Osmo Loop beer. And then you actually have a pool here, albeit it's completely ruined. But it's like you have like nice like hotel rooms and stuff. Like they kind of spared no expense at least making like the living quarters kind of nice. Albeit this was probably for like scientists or executive types or something, if I had to guess. There was like dorms for like some people, and then the other people get better rooms. There was a hierarchy going on, at least. What the hell happened in this one? There's a sledgehammer. Inside. Tell me it's behind wall. Somebody was having a weird time, man. Secret computer in here. Secret sleeping spot. So somebody was... Either this guy broke the wall to like make a space for himself, or somebody was in here peeping in on him. This is like dried blood or something? There's no body. So if somebody was killed here, I don't know where that would have gone. At least I think it's dried blood. I mean, it looks kind of blood colored, don't it? But then this, I'm not so sure. It does have paint. Quick drying. I mean, it could all be paint. Who knows? He has a lot of it. Me and my freaking mouth, dude. I was like, oh, there's gonna be a sauna around somewhere. I want to say that this might be one, or at least it's like a changing room. This looks like an area you would find in like the old abandoned parts of like Portal 2. Ooh, this is nice. It's like kind of like a pillbox kind of thing. You get like one little breath of fresh air. It's like an Amnesia the bunker. You go up there and you like poke your head up, but then you get shot at from a sniper immediately, so you have to go back down, and it's like your one hope of, oh, I can finally maybe see some like the sky. I haven't seen it in so long, and it's like, nope, you don't even get that. It's like oppressive. And like here, it's like it's all barred. Like you're not getting out of here, dude. Oh, I like you can hear the helicopter from in here. It emphasizes like the separation. The point of making this video is, if I were to see the proper people or any other Urbex-centric channel making a video of a new place to explore, I think these are the areas from Infra that I feel like would be the most interesting to see in a hypothetical scenario where these spots were real and able to be explored safely. Thankfully, this is a video game, so at least I don't really have to worry about things like ionizing radiation in this bunker, and that gives us more freedom to explore every inch, like this lab, for instance. Hell yeah! I have the power of God! Wait, this place sucks.